Hey, it's a new week. Do you know what that means? That means part 2 of Justice Served featuring Lew Guan Xi is finally out. You've probably waited so long. You want to get straight into it, don't you? Well, here it is. Enjoy. Guan Xi raised a very interesting point. The fact that the kid who killed the other kid on the early morning of Diwali basically wasn't mature enough or reasonable enough. His brain wasn't developed enough, which is very scientific. You don't develop most of your frontal cortex till you're 25. So he wasn't able to foresee the consequence of running with an open-ended scissor. Well, so then to that, two things I want to ask you, and then you can come up with your answer. So the first thing is, what's the point of juvenile schools in the first place? And you probably already have an answer for this. And then so long as the prosecution still applied or still prosecuted that kid and sent the kid to juvenile school, then I'd say the law is being applied fairly. However, I think, and so does Yuvan, both of us think that the prosecution didn't actually prosecute the kid, and we might be wrong. And if we are, then fine. Then probably it was applied fairly, and we probably try to look up for another inconsistency after this. But I think that the kid wasn't prosecuted. That's the first thing. And then if the kid was prosecuted, then the law is being applied fairly, which is what you see in Singapore. What happened recently, I think an Indian guy is going to be hanged next week for carrying drugs, even though he's mentally disabled.
Mm-hmm.
And that is proper, consistent application of the law. If Singapore's laws don't afford for someone with a mental disability to be punished, to be exempted from any sort of punishment, if Singapore's law doesn't accord for that, then the guy, by going by their law, should in fact be hanged, and that is applying the law consistently. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, so answering to your first question, the point of juvenile crime or juvenile schools is basically, based on my understanding, it is kind of an institution or entity set for the criminals below the age of 18 in the case of Malaysia. So in the case of the kid killing another kid with a scissors that you say just now, I think I can agree with your point that if the kid was prosecuted and eventually sent to the juvenile thing, I think that is an acceptable thing, because it is kind of the thing that follows the law, and the kid is just, as I said, he is not matured enough to really, because the point of juvenile, in my opinion, is to provide a second chance for these young criminals below the age of 18, so that they can spend time inside the juvenile school to be developed the right values according to the law and also according to the norms of the society that he's in. And then after he's reached 18 years old, he might be released, or I'm not sure, but will he be prosecuted again after 18? Beyond 18?
I don't think so. I
don't think so. Unless he committed another crime. The point is, like, how do you think that 18 is the suitable age to decide you can't be like under juvenile crime anymore? Or after that you
also
are...
an interesting question.
Even Karan said just now, your frontal cortex fully developed at 25, around 25 years old.
So why 18 of all numbers?
Then like 18.
Yeah, because some kids...
And let me tell you, like few years back, 18 years old people can't even vote. Now we can in Malaysia, but then a few years back we can't.
In other countries, 18 people of 18 years of age got married and started families. Yeah. It's a very uneven balance.
This really depends on legal definition on what is the age of adulthood. Like, the age of adulthood in Malaysia is 21. Like, you reach adult, you are considered as adult under the law when you reach 21. But as Karan said just now, your brain was only fully developed until 25. So how do the law define like whether you are mature enough? Because in this kind of prosecution and defense case, we need to base it on the law. So how do the law really define what is adult, and what kind of age do they take into these kind of biological factors when they write the law, or they just...
Okay, but here's the thing though, it's irrelevant at this point because the accused is over 25 years old, so that there's no point of...
That is, it's relevant for this case because she's like
close to 30.
I'm not sure, 27?
Yeah, something like that. So, I mean, anyway, the point that I was trying to say is the prosecution has to be consistent in the way that they charge people. And if that is what's happening, then I think people have nothing to complain about. And so maybe the reason why you see so much of uproar is because of what they call as selective prosecution. I've got no evidence to back my claim, which is why I'm not claiming this is occurring, but I'm just speculating that maybe the reason that a lot of people are unhappy with the fact that she's in jail is because of inconsistencies being applied by the prosecution, which is legally possible because it's up to the Attorney General to decide to proceed with proceedings or to halt the proceeding entirely or to reduce charges, so on and so forth. So and you can also see big changes of this when you also have a change in government. So some governments might be harder on certain crimes compared to other governments. And so if you want to maintain a consistent sort of prosecution, another way to handle that is by actually, funny enough, by appointing the same government over and over again. So that's sort of like a way to ensure.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about this case here is Barisan Nasional started the prosecution on Sam Keating. And then in 2018, we have Pakatan Harapan comes into administration. They continue the charge. Tommy Thomas continued to appeal the case. And after it was overturned again, at that time, Perikatan Nasional was already in power. And they appealed once again. So it's kind of, when you say that when different governments come into power, there will be distinction in this kind of thing. It's kind of interesting in this case that all the governments continue the case.
That doesn't mean that they share different opinions on some cases. So in this case, it's quite obvious that both governments have the same opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting in Malaysia actually, because in Malaysia you can see different parties they always do things that are contradicts. For example, when Harapan comes into power, I can see there's also several policies that they develop just for the sake to contradict BN. You know, not really for the sake that to leverage the country or for the people. They just do it to contradict what BN has done, just for the sake of contradiction.
Okay, so now you're gonna have to give an example.
For example, the GST.
Right, yeah, but then they ran on that though. Whether it was good or bad, the public had a bad perception on GST. And so what they said is just, we're going to change GST back to SST. And that's what they did. Like it or not, that's what got them elected, because they ran. That was what the manifesto said. And it probably wasn't a good thing. But then at the end of the day, whether it's good or bad, you ran on it, you promised that. And so they were obligated to do it. So
but
that's
when
what
you win, it's a good thing.
That is at the end of the day the objective of running to be government, isn't it? So I mean, they just wrote on the fact that it had a bad rep amongst the people, which turned out, or as it turns out, wasn't a good thing actually. Apparently GST is supposed to be better.
I think we have covered like quite some points. So I think we go back to this case about why her bail was suddenly from non-bailable become bailable. Yeah, but then initially, right, they requested for 20,000 bail, right? 20,000 Malaysian ringgit. But then it was reduced to 10,000 because she was like being the good person to the court.
No, that's done purely through negotiations. If the lawyers argue on her side, hey, look, she can't afford it. She's got lots of commitments. She's been a good person. Yeah. So, I mean, you can sort of say that being a good person in the sense that it's her first crime. She's not prone to running away. She doesn't have any plans to leave the country because she can't afford it in the first place. Stuff like that. So then the prosecution say, oh, yeah, well, that makes sense. Okay, fine. So then we'll reduce the bail, because if you run away, there's less chance of that occurring in the first place. So then there's no point in you spending so much money and at the end of the day, if you're a good person and you go out on bail, and if you turn out not guilty, then you get all your money back anyway. So the prosecution found no objection to that, which is why she's out on 10K.
Makes sense. Okay lah, let's not just like complain about these stories, right? Let's make not really a conclusion. Let's find a solution for it. And this is my proposal. Very simple. Just put CCTV everywhere.
Okay.
What?
Now, I'll be the first to oppose that.
The main problem in this case is there are no visual footages at all. Like there's no dash cam in the car. There's no like rear cam on the bicycle or whatever. Obviously, the bicycle need to be as light as possible according to their logic. And then there were no CCTVs on the highway as well. And now we didn't even know whether there were street lights working on the highway, whether she was going above the speed limit, whether the people on the bicycle were on the road or at the side of the road. No one knows nothing. And
Right.
some of the facts that I went through yesterday, right? In South Korea, from a survey that they did, 92% of the vehicle owners or vehicle drivers said that these cameras help to reduce traffic crimes.
So you mean cameras on the road?
I mean, not even just like CCTVs, like dash cam as well. Like dash cam is
Dash
also
cam.
possible.
So
I'm
both
not
of them
saying that,
together.
like, yeah, these are like if there are cameras around, like watching something, like there are surveillance going on.
I think you need to restructure your sentence, because when you said put cameras everywhere, that you know you should
Sounds
restructure
creepy,
your
right?
sentence into like put cameras where they should be. Yeah, because in this case, as you said, the point they raised here that place should have cameras, but you don't have, so you don't have.
No, because it doesn't have to be like that. If you say put cameras everywhere, even if you mean it in a reasonable sense,
Mm-hmm.
that means like in front of every street, I'll still find that quite creepy, to be honest.
Yeah, but then that's the thing in Korea, there are CCTV pretty much every street. Like for me, I feel very safe.
That's also the same thing in China as well. But China is not really CCTV, I would say, but they have a system to put total surveillance on everywhere. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. But you see that a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that. Guan Xi, do you agree with that? Do you agree with this proposal?
It's kind of,
It's not unreasonable, but I still disagree
yeah,
with it.
I can understand why you disagree, because of like, being watched by somebody everywhere you go, right? That feels uncomfortable. And to be honest, I also disagree. Yeah. I also disagree.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing in Korea also. Like there are people that agree, like there are people like me, and then the people who are disagreeing is saying that, oh, I feel like I'm being watched all the time.
Mhm.
But then, like
Yeah,
in cases like
and it's a
this,
substantial amount as well. I just want to point out.
yeah, and then in cases like this, like it can be like a very good, how to say, very good source of evidence. Like what's going on. Like it don't even have to be a freaking 5 years of appeal going on. It can be solved maybe in the first year, I guess. So I mean, it's just my proposal, anyways, lah. It's not gonna happen, I guess. And then
No,
like,
it might. Who knows in the future?
yeah, like okay, let's put like CCTVs aside, right? Like the importance of dash cam.
Maybe some insane lawmakers will come up with this proposal in parliament next year. You don't know. You
Yeah,
never know.
it's possible that it will happen. I mean, yeah, if Korea and China are already there, then why not Malaysia? But
No, and then like not just that, like
yeah.
yeah, there can be
Right.
dash cam also, right? Like last
Yeah.
time there was a wave of it, like people were starting to use dash cam in their vehicles and so on. Then suddenly it just
I
vanished.
think even now it's still there.
Yeah, it is there, but not a lot of people are going for it, right?
I think it's getting more and more popular. I think I've only seen more and more of them.
Oh, maybe
And
lah.
I
Maybe
think
not from the side
I'm-
that I've been seeing lah.
Maybe, who knows?
Mm.
What do you any observations?
To be honest, I'm not really like particular and interested in this kind of observations. But
Hey,
I
you're
would
a
say,
reporter, man.
yeah, I can agree with you say about the increasing trend of that. Yeah.
Okay, let's put it this way. Are there any vehicles in your house that are using dashcam? Can't see.
No.
The vehicles in my house
No.
are all very old school,
Yeah.
Because they are like
same thing here.
my parents, when they are young, they bought it. That's like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like anyways, you
Alright.
can install it
Yeah.
anytime you want, right? And then like I want to point out another thing also, like a way to encourage people to use dashcam is through like insurance agent, like giving out insurance for their vehicles. If I'm not mistaken, Thailand, right, they give like some kind of offer or anything, like if the dashcam in your vehicle is like operational throughout the whole insurance coverage, right, I think they can receive some better offers at the insurance that they're getting. So in that
Give
way, they can,
incentives, huh?
yeah, some kind of, I don't know exactly about it, but then I'm pretty sure it's Thailand. So like it gives
Right.
people to like, okay, just the dash cam, but it's not gonna cost so much.
I don't know about now. I'm not sure about now, but I'm pretty sure that this trend will grow really rapidly after this issue, because I've already seen conversations sparking on social media that's why it's important to have a cam inside your car, and then they put those kind of memes, or they write status or post story. There's a lot of conversation ongoing already. I don't know about now, but I'm pretty sure that the trend is going to grow rapidly after this.
Okay.
Yeah. Because people are just afraid of being accused as reckless driving when they see some, when they run into these kind of cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like not just like cyclists or even drivers, let's say motorcyclists. If you know that the car behind you is like having a dash cam, you'll be like more cautious about what you're trying to do. You won't just like cut into a lane without a signal or anything. Like you'll be more cautious on the road just by thinking that, oh, other people might have recorded what I'm doing.
Yeah, that is a point.
Mhm.
That's a good point.
And you see more of that nowadays. a lot of people record people using phones
Yeah.
and using phones while driving, doing other nonsense, other things while driving.
I just don't understand. Even if like when I have a second of thought that when I'm driving, if I have a second of thought that I want to check my phone when like I don't even check my phone when I was waiting for the red light. Because I feel afraid of it. I feel
You don't know
nervous
who's
for it
watching you.
whenever I hold my phone.
Yeah, la, same. I'll be very uptight
So
while I'm driving.
so I can't understand why those people can drive with one hand or free hand and just doing something like this when they're driving. You know, something like they do selfie in their car while driving. I don't get it. I don't get it.
That is stupid. My goodness.
Unless you have a
Okay,
Tesla lah.
Even then, someone in Malaysia, Singaporeans from Malaysia got into trouble.
Oh yeah, what happened?
Demonstrating the Tesla's autopilot driving system. So they're driving on the north-south highway. Singaporeans miss Malaysia like no one's business ever
Yeah.
since the border is over. They've been making news like no one's business. Some of them filling extra petrol,
Yeah.
some of them driving freehand with their Teslas, and so on and so forth. I think Malaysians miss them, so we keep filming them as well. But back to the topic. Siti Kasim, prominent lawyer and activist, she said the parents shouldn't be to blame because she said in low-income households where you've got a lot of kids, you can only tell the kids so much, and then you don't necessarily know that while you are sleeping at 3 a.m. at 2 a.m. your kid is
Yes.
outside on the road with other kids. You don't know whether your kids are at home. Any opinions? I personally disagree with it.
Yeah, I think I disagree as well, but I want to listen what Quancy wanted to
I
say.
don't know, but when I see about the conversation, like the public is urging like to put the parents into charges of negligence, like not caring for their child properly. I would say that there's one complication if this case was really like raised up and the parents were prosecuted for negligence. I would say the one thing that the prosecution needs to really prove is how do you prove like he's not knowing that the children goes out. Like the things happen on 3 a.m. and it is under logical expectations that the parents would have slept maybe at 1 a.m. You know, the parents would have slept and maybe the children sneak out. And maybe before the children sneak out, he behaves really well. And the parents also provide enough care for him. But the children maybe just under peer pressure or some other factors, they just sneak out. So it's not under the parents' surveillance because the parents already slept and it is really reasonable for parents to sleep at 1 a.m. Right? So I think that is a point where the prosecution needs to really prove if they want to put these parents in negligence. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's this benefit of doubt. And then the thing about benefit of doubt is you can think about it in that way. You can think about it in the other way as well. The other way will be like, oh, the parents knew that the children are leaving the house, but then they just don't care. That's the other side of the
I also
benefit
read
of the doubt.
reports on this where I read this report from CQ Daily. It reveals that 70% of children who get involved in who play bicycle lajak, 70% of them are facing family problems. So as you said, bicycle lajak is equipped with every of the most dangerous things that could exist on a bike, like no brakes, no lights, you know. So this kind of thing, in a way you can think it as dangerous, but in another way you can think it as thrilling. So when these children are not receiving enough attention at home, they feel bored at home. Maybe their parents just work around the clock, not at home consistently. They are alone at home, they feel very bored. And when their peers or friends come up with the idea, hey, why don't you go out and play bicycle lajak? You know, and then what is bicycle lajak? And then bicycle lajak is basically this bike without brake, without lights. And then when you go downhill, you can be very fast, very thrilling, very exciting. And then this child will easily fall into this, you know, because he's demanding thrill very much because he just don't get enough attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that age, all you want is that pure entertainment from it, right?
Yeah, True. Well, I've shifted from disagree to sort of partially agree now. I sort of agree with both of you in the sense that what Guan Xi said is, yeah, you can't prove it from the point of law that the parents knew that their kids were out at 3 o'clock. And then Yuvaan said what you said was that, yeah, you can look at it from the other side though. Which
they
was
knew,
what-
but then
what-
they
what
just
they
didn't
did.
care. Like,
They
either
knew,
way,
but
it
they
can't be
just
proved.
didn't care. Yeah, but it can't be proved. So, which means the parents get away free in this case because of the principle innocent till proven guilty.
Unless there's CCTV
that is
outside
true.
the house.
Yeah, so you can't hold the parents responsible from a point of law, but in terms of how they are looked at socially, most people will say the parents are actually responsible. That's the first thing, because it's the same way you look at the parents as being responsible if their kids become drug addicts and so on and so forth, but they are not prosecuted because their kids become drug addicts, are they? They're not. But then the way society looks at them is that it should be the parents' responsibility to be able to teach the children that doing so and so is bad. That's one thing. And then another thing is, it makes me wonder, if you can't actually prove that the parents are responsible for this, then what's the point of that law being there in the first place? Because I can't think of another case then where that law would actually be put into use. Can any one of you?
That is an interesting point that you raised here. Like, what is the point of having a law?
Isn't it? So what's the point of that law? Yeah, what's the point of having that law then?
Yeah, but then we all know, right, laws have a lot of loopholes as well. So I think this is like one of the loopholes that we are talking about.
Again, right? Like, so where you want to, you can sort of name it loosely, and just the same way the prosecution has used this as a reckless driving as a term where you can just stuff in lots of things. They can actually, following logic, right? It should follow that then they should be able to fit in this particular problem as negligence on the part of the parents, right?
Yeah.
So then I think it comes down to your skills as a lawyer then, right?
Yeah, I think this is also why a part of reason why we need lawyers, you know?
Right. and good ones as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just that it shows that you must properly show which one has more significance on it, right?
Isn't it?
Like, you can't go from a 50-50 point of view. If you can show that, the reckless driving plays a more significant part in this accident, then yeah, Samkating is on the guilty side.
Right.
And then, like, if the people on the bicycle were like having more significance for the cause of accident, then yeah, they are the one on the guilty side. So I think that looking at it 50-50 won't be the proper solution for it. Like, at the end of the day, the significance of which one caused the accident will be the main point of it, I guess.
Yeah, and this is also this can also be really subjective, where every people will have different opinions on it.
Different opinions.
Yeah,
Very
true.
polarizing. Yeah.
So I think we can wrap it up
Yeah,
here.
I think to it's a fantastic way to wrap it. The fact that we've proven suddenly just how complicated stuff can get.
Yeah, I think all three of us had like very vast different opinions about it.
Yeah, from something that seemed pretty clear cut, we've just brought forward like very different opinions.
I think today's episode is better than the last episode where I joined, in the sense that we are all really like throwing out our things. Like, many times I can hear that which all three of us are speaking simultaneously at the same time, because we just have too many points.
Yeah, we have like tons of ideas we want to share about it, right?
I hope it makes your show better.
Right. Okay. So it's good that all of us can have our opinions. Well, thank you again for joining us, Guan Xi. You've been listening to Yuvaanraj. We've had a very interesting conversation on the Mat Lajak case, some random ideas being thrown about. So nice to have all of you with us. We'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks again for joining.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.